Alrighty, so this is Decent We the People News, okay? And heads up, there's going to be language in here. It's not suited for all people, alright? You must be age majority to be able to withstand the pressure of this man, alright? We're talking about where the storm clouds are gathering, okay? I'm going to do a little intro. Maybe. And this is Ginger, and the song is Teacher Teacher.
Good evening, kids. Take your seats, open up your Bibles. I'm gonna chase down survival, so keep your eyes wide open. The young soul lost control, make your first fall. This is my duty to set the bounds. She clapped my hand, took me and placed me in front of the class. She gave me hint, I was the glow of the mass. I'm in the middle of the holy of holies. I have no worries. I saw past the icons on the wall. I saw needles and stones. So she put a paper bag on my head. She pointed finger at me and then she said, dear Lord, forgive me as I'm slapping this sinful child. By your head I'm led, so I will show what is wrong and what is right.
Alrighty, let's go to school, people.
Let's get into it. As you know, many of my fellow constituents, friends, family members, people that are bringing forward the truth are being banned on Facebook at a phenomenal rate. It won't be much longer, and I'm sure I'll no longer be here. With that said, good evening, folks. I want to thank you for inviting me into your home tonight to talk to you about an extremely important issue to you. I'm basically here to talk to you about the United States Constitution and our government and some of the principles thereof. You need to understand most thoroughly so that you can have an effective opportunity to exercise your rights that are protected by the Constitution. The whole purpose of this is that you understand that these rights come from God, nobody else. For all men are created equal. They are God-inspired. God is the one who endowed you with these rights, and the Constitution merely offers a legitimate program to protect those rights or to secure those rights and the blessings of those rights for ourselves and our children for all times, for our posterity. It's important that you understand that the Constitution, God-inspired, it's important that you understand that a lot of the principles that are in the Constitution actually come from the Holy Bible. And it's very important that you understand that this Constitution allows you each to be a king or queen in your own right. As long as you recognize one principle, that you don't ever create a situation where you take away the rights of another. All right, my rights stop where yours begin. So the whole point of having a constitution is so that all of us can have these rights equally, as long as we respect our neighbor and allow them also to have a right equally. The protections are going to last forever, and the reality is that we are going to get thoroughly into your Constitution, and we want you to find a Constitution wherever you can. Now understand this, the federal Constitution does not protect people's rights, all right? The state Constitution is what protects your rights, okay? And we are basically going to take you step by step through some of the most important parts of the Constitution so that you can better exercise your rights in a timely fashion. Remember, we're always going to be timely because we don't want latches to occur, okay? Latches where you have an obligation to respond, you fail to respond, your failure to respond is acquiescence by tacit procreation, or your silence is acquiescence, as we say in layman's terms. years. Now the facts are simple. If you don't know your rights, you don't have any rights. We have come a long way with this program to help you. The most important thing I can teach you about this Constitution is the importance of reading it. You must read the Constitution and understand what physically is involved. Remember, I said it time and time again, there is no substitution for reading, ladies and gentlemen. You must know your rights and timely assert them. That is your burden. If you do not, then the legal term called laches incurs in full force. Laches is a species of action wherein a party of reasonable intelligence and integrity having a right to take an action as prescribed by law and having failed to timely do so loses all right to proceed. Remember, if you don't exercise your rights, you waive your rights. If you don't object timely, then you waive your objection. Basically, there's an argument. If I violate your rights, you may or may not know about it. If you do know about it, you may or may not be able to do something about it. And if you do have the ability to do something about it, you may or may not have the financial wherewithal to go to a finished program. If you do have the financial wherewithal, you may not have the intestinal fortitude to go to the finished program. So most of the time, your government and your abusive personalities in government or your corporation pretty much have carte blanche to injure you, because in 99% of the cases, most people will not proceed. But every now and then you run into that one hard nut, and he or she doesn't quit until, oh, for the love of Pete, what happened? Wouldn't you know it, the government doesn't like me talking to you about this. That is the proper... Oh. That is amazing how that happened. 741. All right. Because in 99% of the cases, most people will not proceed, but every now and again you run into that hard nut, and he or she doesn't quit until the cows come home. What happens is that person will prevail, and those are the people who are actually generating better protections and better constitutional rights for you. Those are the ones who are going to the Supreme Courts and Courts of Appeals that are spending their life funds to allow you to have the benefit. But if you aren't there to catch the benefit, then the benefit is lost. The Constitution. It's important that you understand that the Constitution is in writing. It's important that you understand that it's a legal document, that it was ratified by all of the members in Congress together, and that document has all the signatures on the document, and it's important that you understand that there was an offer. The government offered to govern. There was a consideration. The citizens considered how they were to be governed, and government promised that they would govern by Constitution. And there was an agreement. The citizens, the citizens agreed that if government promised that there would be government by Constitution, they would allow the Constitution into force. Now there's a unique situation in force here. It's very rare when you find the party of the first part, which is the Congress, officers of the government, who are also parties of the second part as representatives of we the people of the public, of the Republic. When they signed the document, they signed as officers of the government agreeing to the Constitution, and simultaneously as officers and representatives of the people in the Republic form of government. When they signed that document, that constituted an ironclad contract in writing, enforceable in a court of law, pursuant to the state statutes of fraud. Now, All we ask is that they enforce the contract. If we read something in the Constitution and we have a good reason to believe it is the way it is, then they should honor that, and they should honor it in favor of you, the clearly intended and expressly designated beneficiary. The first thing you need to understand is Article 6, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution. This is known as the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution. Basically, what it says, this Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made pursuant thereof, and the treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. The judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding in law. First important case, Marbury versus Madison, 5 U.S. 137, 1803. This is one of the leading cases in the history of the U.S. The opinion of the court was anything that is in conflict is null and void of law. Clearly, for a secondary law to come into conflict with the Supreme was illogical. For certainly, the supreme law would prevail over any other law. And certainly our forefathers had intended that the supreme law would be the basis for all law, and for any law to come into conflict would be null and void of law. It would bear no power to enforce, it would bear no obligation to obey, it would purport to settle as though it had never existed, for unconstitutionality would date from the enactment of such a law, not from the date so branded by a court of law. No courts are bound to uphold it, and no citizens are bound to obey it. It operates as a mere nullity or a fiction of law, which means it doesn't exist in law. Now, let me give you an example in today's timing as to how effective this is. This argument is so effective that it literally nullifies the Brady Bill. It nullifies the crime bill that takes away the right of people to keep and bear arms on these 19 weapons that turn into 159 weapons. It stops the 666 bill that just went through that they are trying to take away the Fourth Amendment because they have no power to pass a law that is in conflict with the United States Constitution, and it's automatically null and void of law from its inception, not from the day you got to court and branded it as unconstitutional. A lot of people think that they have got to go to court and brand it unconstitutional, but if you know your argument and you can show your arguments, most of the time you will win. Every now and then you will run into a hard nose, but I will show you how to deal with him too. The next thing I'm going to teach you is about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is the one everybody talks about today, and the one that probably gets railroaded the most. The next is the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment. The Second Amendment is one of the most vital amendments here because our forefathers had such an important understanding of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that was the First Amendment that they turned around and realized that without the right to protect that first right, they didn't have that right. So the Second Amendment, they instituted the right of the people to keep and carry arms, and that right shall not be infringed. Now, they started out by saying a well-regulated militia being necessary for the maintenance of a free state. Now, that is a true statement, but the most important part about the Second Amendment is where it says the right of the people, and the Supreme Court has ruled in hundreds of cases that whenever it says the right of the people, it means the right each of every single citizen to possess the right equally. Now, a lot of guys like to hand out this Menelo, well, that's a collective right. You have got to be a member of the militia. That's all BS. You don't have to be a member of the militia. All you have to do is be an American. You have the right to keep and carry arms, and the right shall not be infringed. Now, note, after infringed, there is no subpart A, B, C, D, E, which would stipulate what would what would be an acceptable infringement. So all infringement is forbidden. I asked them, what is that you don't understand about the word infringement? Because that's what it says when you look it up in Black's Law Dictionary. When you want to talk to these people in court, you want to have Black's Law Dictionary. You would be absolutely amazed what's in Black's Law Dictionary. These are the exact words that you need to be able to definitively define the work game problem we are having with these people today. The word game program that we are having with these people today. They keep changing the words, but guess what? The words in this book are the words that were written when we were in the Constitution when it was signed, and the definition that are in this book are enforceable in a court of law. You can bring this book into court and pull it open and say, this is the one, Judge, and they have to listen, and that's the way it is. So, for sure, if you are going to be in this, go down to a bookstore or Amazon.com and get a copy of Black's Law Dictionary. You need that to be in this because it's like defining the map of how to get from point A to point B. You have to have this book so you can pull it out and say, hey, don't trample my rights. Another good book on the Constitution you can pick up is the American Constitution, put out by West Publishing Co. This goes into a whole lot of winded arguments as to your Constitution. Now, after I am finished talking to you, you are going to have a new concept of the Constitution and how it works. You're going to understand that it's what you say it is. If you have got an honest right, I'll give you an example. Now, the First Amendment basically talks about the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but isn't the right to work part of right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? You have got a right to work, right? To contract your labor, your skill, and your time, and life as you see fit, right? That's a First Amendment right. Another First Amendment right would be the right to travel freely and unencumbered. No state can require you to have a license to travel freely and unencumbered, and we will go into that and show you how that is taken care of. The bottom line is you need to learn as much as you absolutely possibly can in the shortest possible time about your Constitution, because I'm telling you right now, as we speak, they're trying to curtail that Constitution and take away rights that you have that have been given to you by your forefathers and most of all your heavenly Creator. There's only two things that are going to stop that. The first thing is that if we all get together, get a hold of a Constitution, and start shaking it. Whoa, horsey. We are not letting you take away that Constitution. This is America. We have got an American flag on the pole out front. Last time I checked, this is America, and we have got a Constitution here, and you ain't touching that Constitution. The second way we can do it is, if necessary and proper, our armed militia can come together and decide to tell these people that are giving aid to and comfort to the enemy of our country by breaking our laws, that you have broken the laws of Title 18, which is positive law, Code Section 2381, which says, when in the presence of two witnesses to the same overt act or in an open court of law, if you fail to timely move to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and honor your oath of office, you are subject to the charge of capital felony treason, and upon conviction, you will be taken by the posse to the nearest busy intersection and at high noon hung by the neck until dead. The body to remain in state till dusk, as an example to anyone who takes his oath of office lightly. You see, without the oath of office, this Constitution is worthless. That's why we have you take the oath of office. So we know that you will honor that oath of office and that you will keep our Constitution. The bottom line here is that you have to know to be able to exercise your rights, okay, that are protected by the Constitution. You have to know what to be able to say and how to timely assert assert yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? And we can prove that these people are taking their income under false pretenses, especially the bailiffs, the sheriffs, the police officers, because all you have to do is ask them one simple question. How many amendments are in the state constitution? How many amendments are in the federal constitution? And if they can't answer that question, ladies and gentlemen, how in the fuck are they enforcing an oath? Are you with me? Are you listening? I hope I'm coming in loud and clear. The most important part of your Constitution are in the first 10 amendments. Obviously, the right of the people to keep and carry arms shall not be infringed, and that right shall not be infringed. You must claim your right if you want to have it. You have to be willing to do that, all right? You really have to be able to assert yourself. Men make claims, corporations file complaints. Assert yourself, damn it. You're an American, stand the fuck up and sound off like you got a pair. If you don't have a pair, I sell brass pairs of balls all fucking day long online. Get yourself a pair. They almost feel real. Put them in the microwave, heat them up, might even get an electrical charge out of them, and sound off, for Christ's sake, like you got a fucking pair, all right? The bottom line is that any law that comes in conflict with that, what do we talk about in Article 6, Paragraph 2? If any law should come into conflict with the supreme law, it's null and void of law. It bears no power to enforce, no obligation to obey, and it purports to settle as if it had never existed. The unconstitutionality dates from the enactment of such law. If any portion of the bill is unconstitutional, the entire bill is unconstitutional. Why? Repugnancy. It's repugnant to the Constitution. Now, other cases involved are your right to due process. Due process is really a blanket statement, ladies and gentlemen, but we really have to understand the basics and fundamental of due process of law. And the basics and fundamentals of due process or law are the opportunity to be heard and the right to be duly informed. All right, so notice and opportunity, okay? Like under the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment. They go hand in hand. That's why it's 4, 5, and 6, not 4, 7, and 8, or 4, 7, 10. It's 4, 5, and 6. 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their houses, persons, papers, and effects. Ladies and gentlemen, it's important for you to know you are not a person. You are a man, a child of God, okay? A brother in Christ, an ambassador of peace. But you are not a person. You have many persons, and that's why in the 4th Amendment it says you have the right to be secure in your houses, persons, papers, and effects, okay? Because a person is not a flesh and blood. A person is a corporate entity or a thing or a trust, and you have a right to be secure in those assets, all right? So the 4th Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be made violated. No warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, which is just what I covered in my last class on Saturday, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Obviously, that would imply that he had gone before a judge and said, this is the guy. He did it. This was the crime, and this is the evidence we are looking for. Judge, we'd like to get a warrant, and we swear that we told you, what we told you is the God's truth. Now, here's the other thing about the 4th Amendment, ladies and gentlemen. Just because a warrant is issued does not mean that they shouldn't immediately and directly take you before a magistrate. We covered that in Saturday's class. And here's the thing, even if a warrant is truly issued, which 90% of the time they're just capiouses, they're bullshit, they are not a lawful warrant. You have no duty to obey. They have no obligation to enforce them. But if you're willfully ignorant and you volunteer, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They're going to throw you in the hoosegow. Now, if you don't timely assert yourself and say, you got to take me before the magistrate, I demand to be taken before the magistrate, you better take me before the magistrate. I'm asking if I can see the magistrate. And you say it 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7 times at least that you want to be taken directly before a magistrate. If they don't take you directly before a magistrate, that constitutes false imprisonment and false arrest, ladies and gentlemen. It also constitutes kidnapping if that warrant isn't true. What does it take to have a true and correct warrant? This is a very good question, and I went over this very thoroughly in the class on Saturday on what it actually takes to have a warrant. So again, if you want that class, get a hold of me on Facebook or however you want to do it, and I'll show you where you can send the donation. It's an 11-hour-long class, and we never missed a beat, all right? It was a wonderful class. Now, no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation. There also must be a verifiable claim or complaint. All right. Now, the Constitution doesn't speak about the verifiable claim or complaint, but it needs to be there along with the affidavit in support of the verifiable claim or complaint. All right. Without those two articles, this is not a warrant. All right. Obviously, that would imply that he had gone before the judge and said, this is the guy. They're having a show of cause hearing why this warrant should be issued. But in the event that they're actually having a show of cause hearing, then you should have been invited to it. Where was your notice and opportunity before the dirty laundry got aired into the street or into the public that you had an opportunity to defend yourself, right? That's why it's important that when you are accosted against your will with a bogus warrant, or maybe it's a real warrant, I don't know. Maybe it's an actual warrant created by the grand jury, which is a true bill indictment. And so when you go and you're accosted against your will, you need to state, I need to go before the magistrate. I need to see the magistrate right now. The courts are open to the American people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't give a shit if it's 3:30 in the fucking morning. You call the fucking magistrate and you get his ass out of fucking bed. Because I'm going to tell you something. The magistrate is the only one with the power and authority to go ahead and issue a warrant. Why is that? They are bonded differently, specifically for that purpose. And they go through an extra bit of training to make sure that when they issue a warrant, it meets every fucking element. All right? And yes, I cuss, and Lord forgive me. That's just the way I teach. So I hope that...
I'm going to pause right there for a second. Now, when you read the warrants, there's commas in there. There's 5 separate things they must have. And if they only have 4 out of the 5, then that is not a true warrant. So really look at your warrants, or look up the Constitution of the 5 elements of that warrant. And then you want to see that warrant, the verifiable proof of that 5 elements in that warrant. Again, if there's 1 or 2 or 3 missing out of it, then that warrant is null and void. And it's a violation of due process.
Evasiveness either rubs your ass raw and chaps your ass to the point where this gets ingrained in you, or, you know, whatever the case may be. I hope it helps you. That's just the way I teach. If you don't like it, my sincerest apologies, but it's probably not going to change. All right, so then they can come over and search until hell freezes over, right? When they have the legitimate warrant. But when they come over with the warrant, guess what? Upon your request, they must produce it. And I'm not talking about a certified fucking copy. I ain't talking about something that was rubber stamped by a fucking clerk of the court. Bullshit. You get that right the fuck on out of here. I'm talking about the real wet ink signature of a judge, a clerk of the court, and an upraised seal supported by a bond with a verifiable complaint or claim that was signed before a notary under the pains and penalties of perjury, facing 1 year in jail and a $10,000 fine, with an affidavit in support of it, also signed on the pains and penalties of perjury. If you don't have that warrant of committal, ladies and gentlemen, you can pack your shit and get right the fuck off my property. All right? That's just how it works. Now,
I'm going to say this. They will absolutely tell you they do not have to show you. And again, you say, well, like you said, take me directly to the magistrate. We have an issue here. All right? Once again, you know, you must be able to see this warrant and be able to sit there and watch the particular items they are searching through your house. Has got to be on that warrant. And if there's a dresser drawer that's blue and the dresser drawer is pink, and they tell that warrant that they could search that pink dresser drawer, but they decide to go on that blue dresser drawer, you can stop them right then and there. Don't you dare. That's the reason why the warrant's there. Is to show you proof. Not the cops. Alright?
Important to jump to the 9th Amendment. Enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Can I get a fucking amen? This means Congress has no authority to add on to the Constitution in such a way that it would take away rights previously guaranteed. Now, let's talk about this Constitution a little bit, because this Constitution...
I have to say the 11th Amendment took rights away. We was all equal in Article 3. And then... all of a sudden they had to do the 11th Amendment, gave them sovereign immunity, and left we the people sovereign, where we can, you know, not sue them as easy.
never gave Congress the right to lord over you and me. Can I get an amen? All right, that's what I like to hear. Understand this. Congress and government were created to monitor international commerce and commerce amongst our streets. That's it. They were never put in place to lord over you and I, okay? Now, we're going to fast forward to the 10th Amendment, all right? The 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited by it are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the fucking state. We are the fucking government. Can I get a hallelujah? All right? The sooner you guys figure this shit out, the better off you fucking are. The Constitution is a contract designed to limit government. That's why I accept
The 10th Amendment, the state or the people. It's got that or. We are sovereign.
their oath of office, Title 4, 101, Title 28, oath of office. I accept their Title 5, 333.
Title 4, 101. All right, that's today's version. As we talked about this, Article 6, First Stat 1. Okay, the original full legal birth name must be on that oath that they absolutely are not taking.
One oath of office, and I accept it as the beneficiary. Remember, an offer, equity will not perfect an imperfect gift. They made the offer. The question is, did you acknowledge, did you accept it, and did you hold them to it? All right?
All right, we're going to go to part 2. This is We the People News. Bye, y'all.